Okay. I realize I'm bad at explaining things, and I don't know what you probably need help with, anyone who might be watching. But I'm just gonna make something. You can watch me and hopefully learn. I'm gonna say what I'm doing. I'm making a new file here. 8 by 8 inches, 300 resolution, and transparent background so I don't have to worry about making a new layer. And so, I'm just gonna draw. And hopefully you can learn something. Most people, when they start to draw, or they make a sketch, they usually make something like this, which helps them understand like what they're doing. I don't do this. I'm gonna do it anyways, because why not? And so basically the point of doing this is to help you understand like how do you want your character to look before you go into great detail. You normally don't put a lot. You leave it all jaggedy and weird. Though my art is always jaggedy and weird. People put circles everywhere. I don't know why. It helps them. It doesn't help me. And so, I'm just gonna make this very simple. It's a doggo or a cat. More like a dog pose. And so, something that can help is making these lines. It helps you understand like where the face is, and people usually like place the eyes according to it. And then of course if you had a human face it would be easier, but there's a snout here. And then you can make a new layer to start your actual drawing, because this is just a sketch to help you. And if you have something called correction, very useful. You can help make your lines smoother, like 20% correction, 0 correction. It allows me to get all jaggedy. 40% correction, I can't get jaggedy even if I wanted to, as you can see. So I'm just gonna go with 20. Usually this is helpful for people that don't have steady arms. And so if you make a mistake and you want to undo the line, just Command Z. And I am using a Wacom tablet, so that's why the lines kind of are gradually getting larger and smaller. And so basically, I'm just gonna outline this little sketch I have. Then I'm gonna get on to the next part, which will be coloring. And unfortunately I don't have any way to edit this, so sorry Zero, I'm just gonna have to wait and watch. And probably hear my dog snoring in the background. I'm not even gonna go realistic in the eyes. He's gonna have derpy eyes. He's gonna be a tired doggo. He's gonna have those bags under his eyes. Just to look completely mortified. Oh, and also, you don't always have to connect your lines. Sometimes they look better when they're not connected. That's up to preference. Do you want to connect your lines, then connect your lines. If you don't want to connect your lines, then you don't have to connect your lines.
Tengo hambre, tengo hambre, tengo hambre, tengo hambre.
Hi, Nico. Technically, you're not hungry. You just feel hungry. You don't have to eat. Humans are made to go without eating for 3 weeks.
What are you doing, Miss Cato?
Also, they can hear you.
What?
Oh well, if you don't understand, then that's fine. You don't have to understand.
You what? What do you say, Catherine? What are you saying?
That you can talk if you want to talk. I am doing the lines on a different layer than what I did the sketch on, because if I did them on the same layer, I would be stuck with having them both together. But if I click this little thingy on the sketch layer, I can make the sketch invisible and only see the drawing itself, which is helpful. Some people like to sketch out what they want to do on paper and then take a picture and put it in Photoshop, or in this case Fire Alpaca.
I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry.
And so I officially have my sketch done, or I could go into his ears and maybe put some detail. Erase any lines that kind of look out of place. Try and make them as clean as possible. Some people have a rugged art style. I would have a rugged art style if I didn't have the correction to help me. That's just how life plays it out. So it's gonna call that done. And also, if you are doing this, make sure to not draw on your sketch layer, because once you make your sketch invisible, you would most likely be stuck with that. That would be horrific to realize. You did all of your work on either a white background or another layer that you don't want it to be on. So then you have to take like the lasso tool and try and separate what you want from the rest. Command D to deselect. Basically, the lasso tool selects a specific part that you outline, and you use Command D to stop selecting. But yee. And so now I have my finished sketch. It's black and white, and there's currently no background, so I'm gonna add color to my character. And it can be a purple dog, I don't know. So I press B to go back to the brush. I have all of these different brushes I can select from, but they're all kind of weird and do strange things like that. If I use that, I can place the center of symmetry, but most people don't have to worry about that because they don't have Fire Alpaca. Thorn brush, just a bunch of spikes. Katakami, those weird cross hatchings. It's better to just do those by hand. And so I'm just going to use the basic pen. And so what I do, some people guess magic wand, E. Actually, let's see, how does that work? Yeah, no, not what I want to do. In Photoshop or other softwares, you can use what's called the magic wand tool, and you can select on your lines layer what you want to have colored, then usually like expand by 2 or 3 pixels so that you don't have a weird white space in between. Because if you use something like the fill bucket tool, oh well, I did that on the lines layer and I have open lines, but if you use something like the fill bucket tool, you get all of these white patches, and if you expand a selected layer, you're gonna avoid getting those white patches. And because I decided to do an open concept where the lines aren't always connected, I cannot do the fill bucket tool. So I have to rely on the brush tool, which is not that bad. I usually like color a little bit out of the lines. I don't have to worry about keeping it all in because I can just erase it later. So I just go around and I color what I can, trying to stay in the lines. But of course you can always go back and fix that because you're using a magical thing called layers. And layers basically let you color or like edit a specific portion of your art piece without messing up the other portions. So some people will make multiple layers, something that I should have done. So I call this line work, then call the original one sketch, then this one color, because in a real artwork you're gonna have more than just a dog, you're also gonna have a background. And once you have a lot of things like backgrounds and then characters, you have to be careful because if you don't label your layers, you're gonna get lost. I get lost a lot when I make shirts for like Roblox. I have 100 or so layers and I don't label them, or like I label them weird things and I don't remember what it is when I come back to it. So usually you end up going back to your files and doing stuff with it later. So you don't want to confuse yourself by naming something LOL and it's just a sketch. That would be kind of hard to remember. And so I have basically colored most of my character. Can go in with an eraser, zoom in a little bit, clean up the lines, but I'm not going to care for that right now because shading is next. And shading can be done in multiple ways. You can either do it on the same color layer and then you make a mask. I don't know how to make a mask, but if you were using Photoshop, you'd make a layer mask for brightness. And you could lower the brightness so you keep the same color as your original like thingy, and it will just be slightly darker. For me, I don't really have that luxury, so I'm gonna call this shading. I should probably also, for the color, not have him one solid color the whole way through. Dogs do not have pink eyeballs or purple, but sure, I'm gonna give him pink eyes. He's gonna look really weird. And sometimes you might notice that you did something. Like here I notice I have some line work going into his eyes. I can be careful, but of course I'm also affecting the eye lines as well. So I just gently go in and delete. Here, we'll erase it. Then I can go up. Let's select the same darkness value, but slightly brighter. Oh, no, slightly pink. Just go in, give him pink ears. Maybe pink eyes. I'm still going out of the lines, and because I'm in the color layer, I can't just delete, because I delete the other color. So I press I, like in I myself. I click on a layer I want, and I am able to select that color, not that layer that I want. I use the eyedropper tool and select the purple so I can draw in purple again rather than trying to find that color desperately. And I'm so used to Photoshop that I'm trying to change the width of the brush the way I would do at school, but I don't have that luxury right now. So we just go in and fix it. Sure, it's the lazy route to not use another layer for the pink, but it doesn't really come out well all the time. So I'm just going in, fixing my mistakes. Mistakes that could have easily have been avoided. And almost done with this part. Oh, I just did the eraser out of instinct. E up there. So now we have our simple dog. You can go into the shading layer, because I don't have anything fancy or like a separate darkness to brightness thingy, because I don't care. I'll just go with the flow. You can change the color specifically, as in hue, and then the brightness specifically in a different like channel, but I just choose to go like this because it's easier in my opinion. And so I'm on shading, and as you can see, it's just a little bit darker than the color I chose to color everything. I'm still going out of the lines. Doesn't matter, because eventually you can like merge the shading and the color lines together once you know you're officially done. So then you don't have to worry about going between both layers. You can just select the merged layer and edit the shading and the colors that are going out of the lines there. And so he's sleepy, so I have to give him some shading under his eyes, and also try to make sure to correct things as I go, because no one's perfect. You're bound to make a mistake and forget about it because you're so excited to move on to the next part. You just do it. There's nothing to it. I'm being straight up with my art. Some people say work smart and not hard, so you try to find shortcuts, but shortcuts aren't always the best. But there's always some out there that are really worth giving a shot. Especially if you try to do animation. Not worth it to try and do everything by the book. You have to go and just do your own thing, figure out your own stuff. Don't draw each frame by frame. Reuse as many things as you can. So let's just say I'm almost done with shading. And so you think, I can stop here, or I can add highlights to things that are shiny, like metal or eyes, because eyes are watery, they reflect light. Everything technically reflects light, because that's what makes us see color. But eyes. An easy way to make eyes look like they're full of life is to add a shine to it. And so, once you have shading done, you can either do it on the same layer Or you can use a new layer and move on to shading or adding highlights to the eyes. So I'm gonna do a new layer. I'm gonna call it highlights. I'm just gonna select my base color and go up a little bit. And if he was like made out of marble, you could have these streaks, though I'm not good at marble creatures. Streaks showing that light is reflecting off of him. And then of course you have the eyes. Ooh. There's many ways to do eyes. Some people like have multicolored eyes. They do something like that. And it kind of goes up. Anime eyes. So much work is put into them. It's amazing how they're able to get it to look so good. 'Cause it's actually really hard. Yeah, that doesn't even look good. Like, just look at it. Oh no, that's a bad example. Rin. If we not open multiple windows, oh gosh. It's so mysterious how they're able to get. You can try and replicate it. It doesn't always look good. Pretty sure they're using a soft brush. So I'm just gonna completely ditch trying to do multicolored eyes. Just do a little shine. You can add some shading to the eyes, because I forgot that. There's always like eyelids. Well, I'm using the same exact color. Slightly darker. And now the eyes have some life to them. Amazing what little things can do to your art. And so we go out now. We ignore all the lines protruding out. If we merge all of this, because why not? Bam. Then if we reverse the merging, because I'm gonna, like, if you don't have shading or highlights, you can see how much life is taken away from your character. So just having anything, just a little thing, really helps. And it all starts from, well, ooh, I'm on the shading layer still. Make sure you select the correct layer. It all starts from a simple sketch and turns into something like this. You can, of course, remove all the lines that, or well, colors that go out. It'll look better. And I'm gonna call it quits there.